Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and yep, SFO Grimhammer's newest update, Scorched Earth, was just announced yesterday. This is a brand new massive update which releases on the 14th, so not very long now, and as per usual, Venris got in contact with me and asked me if I wanted some early access. So there's going to be a few videos coming out until the release of Scorched Earth, so let's just jump right in with today's video focusing around the Empire. So there's some big changes coming to Volkmar which will make him a little bit more like a DLC character, as the most recent vanilla patch didn't really touch him up that much. Scorched Earth will make him feel a little bit more unique than he already was, more in line with that of Balthazar Gelt and Karl Franz. You'll still be accessing the Books of Nagash as per usual, but you'll have the Cult of Sigmar with unique followers and Acts of Faith. You've got cooldowns to the Battle Prayers and Accusation, and the Army of Sigmar units are available a little bit earlier. These are unique units from SFO Grimhammer. When it comes to the Lord effects, we've got Control +5 for own local province, Casualty Replenishment +10%. This is for Flagellants and Sigmarite Disciples for Lord's Army, Melee Defense +5 for Flagellants, Sigmarite Disciples, Empire Knights and Free Company Militia units for Lord's Army, and then finally Physical Resistance +10% for Flagellants, Sigmarite Disciples, Empire Knights, and Free Company Militia units. There's some obvious overlap with the stuff in vanilla, but the idea was not to drastically change him, just add some stuff to make him a lot more fun. What you will notice is that you have access to a new resource known as Veneration of Sigmar, which you get by battles, Books of Nagash, and buildings, and you'll be using them on Acts of Faith. So you'll be naturally acquiring these as you start playing for your campaign. Getting the books and sealing them actually does provide a lot, as very early on you won't have access to that many. And believe me, you'll want to, because you do have access to a brand new Cult of Sigmar tab. If you've played SFO Grimhammer before, you'll know that this is a mechanic that was originally given to Karl Franz, but since Franz has his own mechanic now, it was reworked into the Cult of Sigmar, which works very, very well. As you can see here, you'll have access to a bunch of different effects that you'll be able to get for a few durations. So there's 10 turns, 1 turn, and so on, increasing your attack capabilities, reducing the upkeep cost of your main faction leader's army, in case you like to doom stack a little bit, increasing movement range after winning a battle, which is also really, really good because, yeah, you're in a pretty dangerous location. You'll be able to unlock this from turn 1 as soon as you get into combat, so yeah, you'll be able to start getting some pretty beefy buffs, which will make it a little bit easier for you to deal with Cetra very early on, or Manfred, as they can be quite problematic when you're in a location where you have no real allies until Tetraecho starts building up and then decides to betray you. Or Forek, same thing. You'll also have access to followers, and these will work very similar to auxiliaries, and yeah, they will cost treasury, so you're not going to be getting them early on, depending on how you manage your economy, but you'll be able to summon in with the Lord's followers, halberdiers, handgunners, great swords, or even some Empire Knights. And if we go into the hero followers, you've got more basic items here. Well, not really basic, they are quite strong, like Loyal Retainer giving you some ward save, hero defense, and also, Vigorous, extra unit experience for Hero's Army. My favorite has actually been Field Doctor, because you'll be able to get some control, some growth, and also reduce corruption. You are going to be dealing with a decent amount of corruption whilst you're down here, because you're going to be dealing with Khorne, you're going to be dealing with the undead, and you're also going to have Tzeentch coming up and annoying you. Overall, this is a pretty good system, and it does make Volkmar a lot more fun to play around with, which is something that was needed for a while. There's obviously some other systems and even units that have been in place since various patches. Some things have been changed around a little bit. Obviously, you'll be able to get Veneration of Sigmar by building up the Grand Temple of Sigmar, well, that whole specific building line, and this is where you'll be able to pick up other types of units too, like Sigmarite Disciples, which are very, very strong. We'll be checking them out in a little bit now anyway, but yeah, you don't get the Ulrich buildings because, yeah, you're the Grand Theogenist of Sigmar, which obviously makes sense. The idea is playing full Sigmarite, having your Crusade, because a lot of people do like them, and especially now that the Grand Temple is a lot more beneficial to you in terms of corruption, and also a little bit of control, it's definitely something that you'll want to use. This is further enhanced by the fact that you do have the religion system, which is a tech tree, which you'll be able to devote to Sigmar, and then some minor deities to be able to get some buffs for your faction, allowing for replayability, but also allowing you to theme up as much as you want. There's some obvious ones which are better than others, but again, players do vary. Elements of choice like this is obviously quite good because it does allow for this game to feel a little bit more structured, and it does change around when you start playing with the other factions too. Remember that the Empire as a whole do get access to these benefits, sometimes even more when they're not so devoted to one faith. The stark contrast is here when you're playing as any other legendary lord for the Empire, where instead of just the Cult of Sigmar, you do have the actual option to go with the whole Cult of Ulrich instead, and you'll be able to pick up some Wolfkin and so on. There are some Teutogen Guard and Knights of the White Wolf. You'll be picking those up as you start progressing through your campaign, but that's also seen in the tech tree too, where if you don't want to devote yourself to Sigmar, you could devote yourself to Ulrich, which will provide you some more attack-worthy buffs. Again, Volkmar doesn't get access to this because of who he is, but if you want to play as Karl Franz, which the majority of you will, yeah, you've got the option there. It's important to note that SFO Grimhammer has changed up the game a lot for the Empire, well, pretty much all the factions, but you do have access to some very glaring holes in your roster. Like, for example, you do have the Knights Panther, which is a very, very popular knightly order, the Teutogen Guard, Imperial Knights on foot, so if you want some more heavy troopers, you'll be able to get access to that. There's actually been a few changes coming in, which does make things a little bit better for you if you're still struggling there in the Empire, and I know some people are still struggling because yes, it is quite a dangerous location with loads of enemies all over the place. The Teutogen Guard and the Imperial Knights on foot are a Elector count unit, so it does take a while to be able to get more of them, but believe me, it's worth it. So let's start talking about some big changes over here first. Now, the Ironsides have been redone with the SFO standard. Originally they were added in with repeaters, and here they are once again. So you won't be using them with basic handguns like, well, I want to say Creative Assembly intended, but I'm assuming it's more of a Games Workshop thing. That means that if you were worried, just in case they were just going to go with a handgun situation, yeah, you're fine. You'll be able to rip apart enemies before they even get up to you, pair them up with all your other stuff, and believe me, you're going to be decimating the enemy once you start adding in some Hellblasters, some Steam Tanks, and obviously some Engineers. Engineers are quite complementary here. One thing from a previous update, which also is quite beneficial for you to use now, is the use of the Grandmaster. This is a Lord option, which is very customizable, as you'll be able to devote them to, you know, a Knight of Moor, Knight of the Blazing Sun, a Knight of the White Wolf. Again, now, especially since you've got access to so many Cav units and you want some extra capacity, this is definitely going to be that one for you if you want that really big Cav army. Because one of my biggest issues with, well, how things have been handled with the Empire General is, yeah, you know, you get them mounted and that's pretty much it. There's no real big reason to use a lot of cavalry, which is sad for the Empire, right? There's been a minor change to Karl Franz where per allied faction that you do have, rather than getting growth, you actually get experience gain for characters plus 10%, which is actually quite good. This means that you'll be able to level up your lords and heroes really quickly, so it's definitely going to make your campaign feel less like a slugfest, especially if you like playing in the harder difficulties when player bias starts kicking in and everyone starts dogpiling you. But yeah, now we have to talk about the units. You see, obviously there is a bunch of units that have been added to this mod over the many patches that SFO Grimhammer's had over the years. So the Sons of Ulrich and Army of Sigmar units are available now to all factions to recruit after researching the devotion, and Volkmar obviously gets them a little bit earlier, but you've got a bunch of really famous troops here, like the Knights Panther, which look absolutely awesome, and just pretty much anything to fill out the roster a little bit. The Knights on foot are very useful, especially if you're that type of person who likes having some foot troops to hold the line. Your great swords might not be enough for that. You might want a sword and board because you want a defensive line. The most important theming is theming, because theming is very important if you want to use the Knights of the White Wolf, the Teutogen Guard. It's something that we're eventually going to see in vanilla. Well, you never know, considering recent leaks and so on. Yeah, getting more representation of the churches is obviously very important with the Empire. Like, over any other faction and race in Warhammer, the Empire needs more church representation. Now, with all that being said, what do you guys think about the changes coming to the Empire in Scorched Earth for SFO Grimhammer on the 14th of this month? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Let's start a bit of a discussion. There's a lot more SFO videos coming out over the next few days, so don't you worry, including some really cool stuff that Venris has been working on in the background. Have a great day, guys, and I'll see you all again very soon.